The void stretched endlessly, a black canvas speckled with distant stars, yet for Admiral Xyren, it felt more like a cage than a canvas. His fleet, once the pride of the Galvarian Empire, drifted under his command with mechanical precision, each vessel a gleaming testament to centuries of technological mastery. But today, precision meant little. The enemy had cornered them, and no formation could mask the overwhelming truth. They were outmatched. Xyren stood in the command bridge of the Arinder, his eyes scanning the holographic display of ships falling into chaos. Smaller skirmishers had already been shredded by the enemy's plasma lances. Explosions bloomed like twisted flowers in the cold vacuum of space, a beauty Xyren loathed. Each destruction was a reminder of his failure. "Admiral," a voice interrupted his grim survey. Lieutenant Kale approached, his steps brisk but cautious. The young officer's eyes betrayed the tension he tried to hide. "The enemy's maneuver patterns, they're faster than anticipated. We can't outflank them without losing another half of the fleet." Xyren didn't respond immediately. His jaw tightened, a subtle gesture of his decades-long habit of weighing words against consequences. "Then we adapt, Lieutenant. There must be a solution within these parameters. We are not yet lost." His voice carried the steel of authority, but even he felt the tremor beneath it. Kale hesitated. "With all due respect, Admiral, our shields won't hold against their next barrage. The forward battalion reports multiple hull breaches." His words were precise, calculated, yet edged with urgency. "We need a new strategy. Something unconventional." Xyren's eyes narrowed. Unconventional had always been a dangerous word in Galvarian command. It implied risk, improvisation, and, he dared not admit, possibility. Yet he sensed the truth in Kale's assessment. The enemy's superiority was undeniable. "Speak," he said finally, the single word demanding clarity. Kale stepped closer, lowering his voice. "We could attempt a rapid retreat through the Lyran Rift. It's narrow, dangerous, but it might allow us to evade the enemy and regroup." Xyren's mind raced. The Lyran Rift was a treacherous region, notorious for gravitational turbulence and hidden asteroids. Many captains had lost their entire squadrons trying to navigate it. "You propose risking lives we are already struggling to preserve?" he asked, a mixture of disbelief and grudging respect in his tone. Kale met his gaze evenly. "Better risk navigation than annihilation." The silence that followed was broken only by the distant hum of failing engines and the occasional burst of enemy fire reflected on the bridge's observation windows. Xyren finally turned back to the holographic map, plotting courses and calculating probabilities with rapid precision. His pride wrestled with reality, but even he knew the young lieutenant had a point. The fleet could not survive as it was. "Prepare a secondary evacuation protocol," he ordered. "If the Lyran Rift fails, we take the fallback route through the Vexian Expanse. At least there, we might buy ourselves some breathing room." "Yes, Admiral," Kale replied, relief faintly hidden behind his disciplined expression. As Xyren studied the fleet's current status, a faint signal flickered on the display, barely discernible among the chaos. His fingers hovered over the controls, curious. "What is that?" he muttered, leaning closer. Kale adjusted the sensors, squinting at the source. "It's not ours," Kale said slowly. "A distress signal. Origin unknown." Xyren's mind sharpened, instinctively cautious. "From the Vexian sector?" he asked, though he suspected it was further off chart. Kale shook his head. "Closer. Very close. And it's human." "Human." Xyren's tone held skepticism. Humans were rumored to exist in distant sectors, but rarely encountered. Their technology was primitive compared to Galvarian engineering, yet adaptable, resilient in ways Xyren found difficult to quantify. Kale's fingers hovered over the control console, hesitating. "They may be our only chance. If they respond in time." Xyren turned his gaze to the viewport, eyes narrowing at the pinprick of signal amidst the void. A flicker of possibility glimmered within him, fragile yet insistent. For the first time since the ambush began, the crushing certainty of defeat softened, replaced by cautious curiosity. "Plot a course to intercept the signal," Xyren ordered. "Prepare the fleet for immediate maneuver." "And Kale," he paused, his voice softer now, almost reflective. "Keep an open mind. If this is what it appears to be, we may not be alone in facing this threat." Kale's lips tightened in acknowledgement. He understood the weight of the moment. Hope, if it existed at all, now hovered on the edge of human ingenuity, or rather, alien perception of human ingenuity. Outside the bridge, the fleet limped forward, battered but intact, drifting toward an uncertain alliance. The enemy still loomed, relentless and calculating, but Xyren allowed himself a rare thought. Perhaps salvation had arrived, not from within the fleet, but from beyond the stars. As the distant lights of the signal pulsed against the dark, a subtle tension filled the air, a quiet anticipation that the coming encounter could change everything. And somewhere deep in the void, something new waited. Something human. Captain Marcus Kane leaned back in his command chair aboard the Haven's Resolve, a thin smile tugging at the corners of his mouth as he scanned the incoming readings. Space was alive in its own subtle way. The hum of energy fields, the flicker of distant stars, the invisible pulse of gravitational currents. Most admirals might have dismissed the faint anomaly, but Kane had learned long ago that the smallest signals often heralded the largest consequences. "Captain, you're not going to believe this," said Lieutenant Jonah Reyes, tapping rapidly at the console. His dark eyes were sharp behind the reflection of the holographic displays. "Distress signal. Very specific. Not one of ours, not from known colonies, and it's old tech. Older than anything in our current registry." Kane straightened, curiosity piqued. "Old tech doesn't mean useless. Patch it through." The signal flickered onto the central display, a rhythmic pulse almost imperceptible against the backdrop of empty space. Kane leaned closer, noting the irregularities in the transmission. It wasn't just a call for help. It was coded, layered with complex subroutines meant to mask the sender's exact location. Yet someone or something had left a trace of hope within it. "Looks like someone's trapped," Reyes said, fingers dancing across the controls. "They're calling for immediate assistance, but they've disguised their coordinates. Whoever this is, they're cautious." Kane's jaw tightened. Cautious and desperate. That's when humans, or anyone worth their salt, shine. "Plot an intercept course. Take us to the source." Reyes hesitated. "It's not in any human charts. It's in the Galvarian sector." Kane's eyebrows rose. "The Galvarians? They're ancient, proud, and usually self-sufficient. And their fleet is massive. Something big is happening there." He tapped a series of commands into the console. "We go where the need is greatest. And I have a feeling this will be more than a simple rescue." As the Haven's Resolve jumped into hyperspace, Kane allowed himself a moment to survey his crew. Every officer aboard had trained for situations where ingenuity mattered more than sheer firepower. That was the human advantage. Flexibility, creativity, and, most importantly, willingness to take risks that others deemed too dangerous. "Course plotted, Captain," Reyes said, voice tight with anticipation. "We'll reach their coordinates in 43 minutes. Assuming the warp tunnel holds." 43 minutes, Kane repeated, tapping his fingers on the armrest. "Good. That's enough to analyze, plan, and improvise." He allowed a brief smirk. "Exactly how we like it." The stars streaked past as the ship accelerated, each jump through hyperspace like a heartbeat in the void. And then the anomaly appeared, subtle at first, just a faint shimmer on the sensors, but unmistakable. A fleet, battered and disorganized, drifting toward an uncertain fate. Kane's sharp gaze took in the alien formations, noting the gaps in their lines, the damaged vessels. "They're under attack," Reyes breathed, leaning over the tactical display. "Look at their shields. They're barely holding. And those markings? Galvarian. Full fleet engagement." Kane's expression hardened. "That's our cue. Prepare the crew. Shields up, weapons in standby, and keep the comms open. We're not walking in blindly. We're walking in smartly." As they approached, the alien vessels loomed larger, each one a towering construct of energy and alloy, shimmering with patterns unfamiliar yet elegant. The aliens inside must have noticed them, their sensors flickering, perhaps detecting a new presence in their sector. Kane tapped a series of rapid commands. Send an open channel. Minimal signal, friendly identification only. Let's see how they respond. The response was almost instantaneous, transmitted through broken frequencies, distorted but coherent. Unknown vessel, identify yourselves, the alien voice demanded, sharp and formal. The words carried authority, tinged with desperation. Kane leaned forward, his tone steady, confident. We're human. We received your distress signal. We're here to help. Repeat. We mean no harm. Silence stretched across the void, punctuated only by the distant hum of engines and the faint flare of damaged shields. Then, a faint reply. Your presence unexpected. We are cornered. Kane nodded subtly to Reyes. They're cautious. That's fine. Caution is good. He turned his attention to the tactical displays, studying enemy vectors. Let's show them how humans think under pressure. Reyes' fingers moved over the console with practiced precision. Enemy fleet approaching rapidly. Estimated engagement window, 10 minutes. Our shields could hold, but they'll be tested heavily. Kane's eyes narrowed. Then we don't hold. We maneuver. Draw them into the asteroid field ahead. Use gravity wells, debris, their momentum against them. They'll expect a frontal assault. We'll give them something else entirely. The alien fleet watched, uncertain, as humans executed the first series of maneuvers, ships splitting, converging, weaving unpredictably, all in perfect coordination, yet entirely improvised. Xyren must have seen it. Humans were nothing like Galvarians. Their technology wasn't superior in raw power, but their approach to battle, adaptable, audacious, fearless, was something the fleet had never faced. Kale, observing from his bridge, whispered to himself, they think differently. Faster, bolder, alive in ways we've never taught ourselves. Kane's voice cut across the comm channel, calm yet commanding. Aliens follow our lead. We'll create a path out of here. If you trust us, even a fraction, survival becomes possible. The Galvarian fleet hesitated, the tension almost tangible across the vast distance of space. Then, slowly, vessels began to shift, tentative at first, then with increasing confidence. Kane allowed a small grin. As the first volleys of enemy fire arced toward the new formation, humans and aliens alike braced, but for the first time, there was a spark of hope. Survival was no longer certain, but it was now within reach. And in the void between stars, an unlikely alliance had begun. The enemy fleet surged like a living storm, plasma lances tearing through the void as if space itself were bleeding. Yet amidst the chaos, Captain Marcus Kane remained composed, his eyes sharp on the tactical display. Every pulse, every vector shift, every hesitation of the enemy revealed patterns others would miss. He could feel it, the rhythm of battle, a melody in the noise. Captain, they're adapting, Lieutenant Jonah Reyes said, voice tight with anticipation. They're splitting their formation, predicting our maneuvers. If we continue this pattern, we'll be outflanked in 2 minutes. Kane's gaze flicked to the Galvarian fleet, where Admiral Xyren's command vessels shuddered under incoming fire. Shields flickered. A single misstep could unravel everything. Then we changed the rhythm, Kane said, voice low but firm. We stop reacting. We set the tempo. Reyes, initiate the decoy drones. Use the asteroid debris as cover and lure their forward wing into the gravitational trap. Reyes' fingers flew over the controls, sending hundreds of small, autonomous drones spinning into the asteroid field ahead. Each emitted a faint energy signature, mimicking the movements of human and alien ships alike. The enemy hesitated, confusion flickering across their formation. Forward battalion reporting. Xyren's voice crackled over the comms, tense but carrying a note of curiosity. We follow your lead. Coordinating maneuvers now. Kane allowed himself a brief nod, noting the subtle shift in the Galvarians' behavior. Pride had long dictated their strategy, but desperation had forced adaptability. Now they were learning slowly from humans.
Good.
Keep your focus on the drones. Match their rhythm, but be unpredictable. Kale, observing from his bridge, whispered to himself, "They are fluid, alive in ways we never considered. Humans think like water, not stone." The decoy worked. Enemy ships, drawn to the shifting signatures, veered into the asteroid belt, their massive weapons firing blindly. Plasma lances collided with rock formations, triggering explosions that cascaded through the field. Debris tumbled, creating new hazards, while Kane guided the human ships and the Galvarian fleet through precise gaps, avoiding catastrophic collisions. "Direct hit on the forward wing," Reyes reported, excitement barely restrained. "They're taking heavy losses, Captain. Momentum is ours." Kane's expression remained calm, though satisfaction flickered beneath the surface. "Momentum is a fragile thing. Don't let them recover." He toggled the comms to all channels. "Admiral Xyren, focus your main battalion on the enemy rear. We'll keep their front busy. Timing is critical. Strike simultaneously." "Understood," Xyren replied, a hint of hesitation giving way to determination. "We follow your instructions." The Galvarian ship surged, coordinated now not by rigid protocol, but by instinct, guided by human improvisation. The combined fleet became a single organism, agile and unpredictable. For the first time, Xyren allowed himself to believe that survival was possible. "Enemy flagship detected," Reyes said suddenly, pointing to the display. "Heavily armored. Command signals are emanating. If we can disable it, the rest may falter." Kane leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Then we split. Human squadron takes the flank. Xyren, you and your main force engage directly. Keep their attention divided. I'll lead a surgical strike on the flagship." Kale's voice came over the comms, tinged with awe. "You plan to engage directly? With only a fraction of your force?" Kane's eyes gleamed with that strange human audacity. "We're not outnumbered if we're smarter than they are. Speed, precision, and unpredictability. These are our allies." The fleet moved as one. Human ships darted through gaps, launching precision strikes and exploiting gravitational anomalies. Galvarian vessels, guided by human cues, concentrated fire on enemy weak points. The flagship, massive and imposing, found itself harried from multiple directions, unable to recalibrate fast enough. Explosions erupted, lighting the void like distant fireworks as the flagship shuddered under combined assault. Kane piloted his squadron with razor-sharp focus, weaving between plasma trails, while Reyes calculated firing solutions on the fly. Each move required trust, between humans and aliens, between instinct and strategy. "Flagship shields failing," Reyes announced. 3-2. A final coordinated strike from human and Galvarian firepower tore through the enemy vessel, forcing it to retreat or face total destruction. The rest of the enemy formation faltered, caught in disarray and confusion. For the first time, the tide of battle shifted decisively. Xyren allowed himself a small exhale, observing the effectiveness of the combined approach. "Remarkable," he murmured. "Your methods unexpected, but effective." Kane responded over the comms, calm yet triumphant. "We do what must be done. Survival favors the adaptable." Kale looked out at the battlefield, the devastation, and then at the humans who had reshaped the conflict. A seed of respect, perhaps even admiration, took root. If this is the measure of human courage, perhaps we underestimated them. Yet the enemy was not defeated, only stalled. Their remaining forces regrouped at the edge of the battlefield, assessing, recalculating. Kane's mind raced. This engagement had proven one truth. Human ingenuity could tilt the scales, but only if they pushed further, faster, and smarter. "Prepare for the next wave," Kane said, voice steady, commanding attention across both fleets. "They're regrouping, and they'll try to counterattack. But we've learned their weaknesses, and we're not afraid to exploit them." Reyes glanced at him, impressed by the calm precision. Captain, I think we've earned their trust. The Galvarians, they're following our lead now. Kane allowed himself a brief smile, eyes on the enemy fleet that pulsed like a storm on the horizon. Trust is earned in action, Reyes. And the next action will determine if we win or merely survive. In the void, the Alliance held firm, humans and aliens working as one, turning despair into hope and chaos into opportunity. Somewhere beyond the immediate fight, Kane sensed the opportunity to do what others deemed impossible, to change the course of a doomed fleet. But the enemy was still out there, calculating, relentless, and ready to strike again. And as the stars glittered cold and distant, the combined forces braced themselves for the final, decisive confrontation that would decide not just survival, but the future of an unlikely alliance. The enemy's remnants regrouped in the shadow of a dense asteroid belt, their massive ships forming a jagged wall of metal and energy. Captain Marcus Kane studied the display aboard the Haven's Resolve, noting the patterns with meticulous care. The previous engagements had revealed weaknesses, and he intended to exploit them fully. The alliance of humans and Galvarians would not merely survive, they would prevail. Captain, they're attempting a coordinated strike, Lieutenant Jonah Reyes reported, eyes flicking rapidly across the console. Forward units are targeting the outer flank of the alien fleet. Shields may not withstand sustained fire. Kane's jaw tightened, but his tone remained steady. We anticipated this. Human squadron takes the decoy positions. Draw them in while the main Galvarian battalion prepares for the central strike. Timing must be flawless, no room for hesitation. On the command bridge of the Arinder, Admiral Xyren barked orders with newfound confidence, his voice carrying the weight of authority tempered by experience and respect. Main battalion, hold formation. Coordinate with the humans. Their strategy, though unconventional, has merit. Kale, standing beside Xyren, couldn't hide his astonishment. They are fearless and adaptable. Every maneuver feels alive, deliberate, and yet unpredictable. His admiration was tinged with unease. He had been taught that rigid protocol was superior, yet humans defied that belief with every move. The first salvo erupted. Plasma beams cut across the void, ricocheting against asteroid surfaces, as drones deployed by humans scattered in patterns designed to confuse enemy targeting systems. Kane's ships darted among them, small but nimble, striking at the weakest points while avoiding direct confrontation with the largest vessels. Direct hit on their flagship's shielding array. Reyes shouted, a grin breaking through his usual composure. Momentum is shifting, Captain. Kane allowed a rare smile. Good. Keep pressure. We're not done until the enemy's command structure collapses. Xyren's fleet responded with precision, the massive Galvarian cruisers focusing fire on enemy vessels flanking the humans' decoy formation. For the first time, the alien fleet fought not out of fear, but with strategy informed by collaboration. Captain Kane. Xyren's voice came over the comms, firm yet respectful. Your tactics, they have turned the tide. I misjudged your kind. We would have fallen without your guidance. Kane's reply was calm, almost understated. We're all capable of adaptation, Admiral. Survival favors those who dare to think differently. The enemy flagship, battered and disoriented, attempted a desperate retreat, but the human squadron anticipated it. Using a combination of gravitational slingshots and coordinated volleys, Kane's forces blocked every escape vector. One by one, enemy vessels were disabled, their engines flaring and systems failing under the relentless pressure of the combined fleet. Kale watched from the Arinder's bridge as the remaining enemy ships faltered. Their dominance, it is not absolute. Humans, they see opportunity where we see obstacles. Reyes's voice crackled over the comms, excitement barely contained. Flagship immobilized. All other units falling into disarray. Admiral Xyren, your fleet can finish the engagement. Xyren's lips curved in the faintest semblance of a smile. Indeed. Prepare the final assault. Humans, your guidance has been invaluable. Kane studied the battlefield one last time. The enemy's forces were fragmented, their morale shattered, and their command chain broken. "All units, execute final coordinated strike," he commanded. "Target the remaining vessels systematically. Precision over power. End this." The fleet moved as one. Humans weaved through gaps, deploying drones to misdirect, while Galvarian cruisers delivered concentrated volleys. Explosions erupted across the void, each blast a testament to strategy, skill, and trust. At the climax, the enemy flagship systems failed entirely, drifting silently among the stars, a monument to the hubris that had underestimated the power of collaboration and ingenuity. Silence fell briefly across the battlefield, the only sound the faint hum of surviving engines. Xyren exhaled, a weight lifting from his shoulders. "We have survived. Thanks to you, Captain Kane. You have shown us a path we never considered." Kane nodded, acknowledging the gratitude without arrogance. "You adapted, Admiral. You trusted, and your fleet fought brilliantly. Humans are effective because we take risks, yes, but also because we rely on each other. You have done the same." Kale approached Kane's display via the comms, eyes bright with newfound understanding. "I underestimated your species. Your methods, they have changed my perspective on strategy, courage, and cooperation." Reyes, at Kane's side, allowed himself a quiet laugh. "We just do what needs to be done. Sometimes, it surprises everyone, including ourselves." The surviving Galvarian vessels began repairing damaged systems, and humans initiated recovery protocols. The Alliance, born of desperation, had endured the impossible. In the calm aftermath, a sense of respect and unity settled across the fleet. As Kane surveyed the void, he saw distant lights flicker, ships returning to their stations, shields stabilizing, lives spared. The enemy was vanquished, but the real victory was the bond forged between two species, once strangers, now allies. Xyren's voice, steady yet warm, came over the comms one last time. "Humans, perhaps the galaxy has underestimated you for too long. The Galvarian Empire owes you its gratitude and its survival." Kane allowed himself a faint smile, looking at Reyes and the rest of his crew. "We didn't do it for recognition. We did it because it had to be done. But perhaps now, the galaxy will begin to see what humans are capable of." Kale's voice lingered in Kane's mind, the young officer's admiration clear even across the comms. "You have changed us, Captain Kane. Not just the battle, but our understanding of courage, creativity, and hope." The stars stretched on endlessly, cold and indifferent, yet filled with possibility. Somewhere in the depths of the void, a new chapter had begun, one in which humans were no longer just wanderers or observers, but catalysts for change, capable of altering the fate of even the most sophisticated alien fleets. And as the Haven's resolve began its quiet course away from the Galvarian sector, Kane allowed himself a thought he rarely admitted aloud. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, but with ingenuity, courage, and collaboration, even the impossible could become reality. For now, the fleet survived. And that survival, born of trust and daring, would ripple across the stars.